the Romanov children grew up in one of the most privileged positions on earth, with access to every comfort imaginable. And yet, there was nothing showy or self-indulgent about the way they actually lived. Let us now take a brief look at each of the five. In a court culture that had grown largely secular, all five of them emerged devout, humble, and unmistakably Christian in character. That was no accident. Nicholas insisted his children be raised much as he himself had been, never treated like fragile china or hothouse flowers, but expected to learn their lessons, say their prayers, play together, squabble the way ordinary siblings do, and now and then get into a bit of mischief. It was also a childhood steeped in love. Nicholas and Alexandra's marriage was, by every account, a deeply happy one, blessed almost from the start, and the first decade of it unfolded like something close to an idyll. Every one of their children was born into that warmth and tenderness. And because both parents lived their faith with real seriousness, one as a cradle Orthodox believer, the other as a convert who embraced it with her whole heart, the household itself became something more than a family. It functioned in its own quiet way as a small church. The Romanov children's beauty was often remarked upon, and it was real, but it was their inner character that left the deeper impression. From their father, they inherited gentleness, humility, an unshakable sense of duty, and a devotion to Russia that ran through everything they did. From their mother came depth of faith, candor, self-discipline, and a quiet, steady strength of spirit. Tsar Nicholas used to say that the higher a person's position in society, the more that person owed to others, and the less he should ever mention it himself. He lived by that rule, gentle and attentive to those around him, and he raised his children to carry the same instinct forward. Within that shared foundation of family values, the royal children were quite distinct from one another, each with a character entirely their own. Olga, the eldest, born in 1895, was fair-haired with lovely blue eyes, innocent, modest, sincere, and kind. She had little patience for fashion and preferred simplicity in everything. She took after her father more than anyone and loved him above all others. She had a quick mind too, and a real gift for sound reasoning. Her tutors remembered her as having a crystal soul and a radiant smile, and said an inner joy seemed to shine out of her and lift the spirits of everyone nearby. Like her father, she loved Russia and the Russian people deeply, and when a marriage to a foreign prince was raised as a possibility, she refused outright, saying simply that she never wanted to leave Russia, that she was Russian and meant to remain so. She stayed, and in staying, she went on to receive the crown of martyrdom. Tatiana, the second daughter, born in 1897, was tall, slender, and elegant, with a complexion darker than her sister's. She was somewhat reserved, dutiful, and thoughtful, and often the most decided in her opinions of the four. A talented pianist, she also painted and embroidered beautifully. Tatiana was her mother's favorite, having inherited much of the Empress's nobility and sense of discipline, and her younger siblings affectionately nicknamed her the Governess. Maria, the third daughter, born in 1899, was strong, broad-shouldered and good-looking, with light grey eyes. She could paint and draw and played the piano competently. She was very fond of children and naturally inclined toward domestic life, the kind of person who would have made an excellent wife and mother. Maria possessed the rare gift of being content wherever she found herself, even during the family's imprisonment in Tobolsk. And it was this same steadiness that likely led her parents to choose her, of all the children, to accompany them on their final journey to Ekaterinburg. Anastasia, the youngest, born in 1901, was at first a tomboy and the family's resident clown. Shorter than her sisters, with a straight nose and striking grey eyes, she was witty and refined, with a natural talent for comedy that kept everyone laughing. She was kind-hearted and loved animals, and doted especially on a small dog of Japanese breed the whole family adored. It was that same dog Anastasia carried in her arms when she was led down into the cellar at Ekaterinburg on the fateful night, and the little dog was killed there alongside her. Alexei, the heir apparent, was a very special child. He was born in 1904, in answer to fervent prayers offered by the Imperial family and by ordinary Russians during the glorification of Saint Seraphim of Sarov, prayers asking God to grant Russia an heir. And yet, though born heir to the Russian Empire, Alexei would never inherit it, because Russia was already set on its tragic course. Instead, he inherited something incomparably greater: the kingdom of heaven. From the moment of his birth, Alexei seemed marked for martyrdom. The only son, deeply beloved, he has often been likened to a young Isaac, an innocent sacrificial lamb offered to atone for the sins of his people. He was born with hemophilia, a dreaded illness that brought him terrible pain across the whole of his brief 14 years. It was also the source of the greatest anguish his family ever knew, especially his parents, and became, in its own way, a contributing factor in the fall of the empire. And yet this young boy carried his terrible burden with remarkable fortitude, bearing it silently, without complaint, in a manner that was thoroughly and quietly Christian. At the same time, he remained, in every ordinary sense, just a boy. He loved games and horseplay, joined outdoor activities with other children whenever he could, adored sailing with his father, and like his sisters enjoyed watching films and building paper boats and other little models. Clever as he was never especially fond of books. He had a generous heart, loved giving presents, and adored animals. He was lively, cheerful, and a universal favorite, beloved by everyone who came into contact with him. His mother loved him with fierce, passionate devotion, bearing the indescribable anguish of watching her only son suffer from an illness she knew he had inherited through her own side of the family. God granted these extraordinary royal children a fate that was, in its own way, spiritually royal. Having spent their childhood and youth living a deeply orthodox life, in absolute innocence and purity, they were, in the end, ready for the final crowning touch, the shining crown of martyrdom. The royal martyrs bore it all with great fortitude, strength of spirit, true Christian humility, and a total acceptance of the will of God, finding their solace, to the very last, in church services, family prayers, and quiet spiritual reading. These pure and innocent children were brutally murdered on the night of July 17, 1918, and from that blood-soaked cellar in Ekaterinburg, they passed triumphantly into the royal palace of the King of Heaven. Subscribe to our channel and join us on the journey of the Romanovs project. We publish new videos every week. See you next time.